Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second straight week we're having a debate. Is called for a brand new show, Ben versus. I'm your moderator, Jace Lejeune. I'm not going to try to get too much in the way, but Ben, first week doing the show. Pretty good start for you. 3-0 after your first three debates against Cave. Cave just came on the short end of the stick on all three debates. So, Ben, talk about starting off the show. Perfect 3-0 right now.
Well, I mean, sometimes you can catch a break, and I caught a break. I know I'm going to be going head-to-head with somebody very, very well-educated, especially his football background with family and stuff. But, yeah, I look forward to this debate and what we got ahead of us.
Well, like you mentioned, there's a new challenger, and we have actually a former Gridiron football intern with us, writer for us, and Grant Chachere. Grant, you're actually now doing your own thing, doing the Gridiron sports media stuff, and you're doing a really good job interviewing a lot of the prospects around the country and some guys, 3-star, 4-star guys like that. And then you've also shot a lot of LSU footage, so talk about what's been going on at Gridiron sports media.
Yeah, so since I've graduated from LSU, I graduated in December. I've been doing this my own solo venture called Gridiron Sports Media. And I cover a lot of LSU stuff, LSU football, LSU baseball, and I also film a lot of highlights for whether it's 7-on-7 stuff or LSU football practice. But my main thing I've been doing has been interviewing different recruits around the country. Most of them been in the South. I've actually interviewed JT Lindsay twice. One of them was before he kind of blew up. And then now, after the second one I've done, I haven't released yet. I'm going to release it later today. Talk about his commitment with LSU, and then also his interesting relationship with Keelan Moses, as he's actually a pretty good friend of his because their moms, I think, went to the same high school together. So look out for that. But then also, I'm also going to interview a guy from California pretty soon who's committed to Washington. But it's a lot of big time names on there. Got a lot of guys who committed to some big time programs. So I'm really excited for what the future holds, and eventually I'll also have a podcast covering high school football since we're starting up spring ball. Chase probably will be on a lot, but hopefully I could get that. So I just need to plan it and everything like that.
Absolutely, and by the end of it, we'll make sure to plug it at the very end for our last. Actually, each one we'll make sure we'll plug Gridiron Sports Media.
Also, I'll say this one last thing. Also, make sure to follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Gridiron Sports Media. Chase will have it in the bio, so if you guys want to look it up. But then also make sure, if you guys do go to my channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've had a lot of guys watch my videos but never subscribe, which is typical with YouTube, but make sure you do, and it helps me out a lot and helps the channel grow.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to promote that throughout the show as well. But now, guys, let's get into the debate. So this is the first debate of 5 where we're going to post one each and every day. And then at the end of each every day, y'all, the fans, y'all get a chance to vote on who do you think wins the debate. So we're actually looking for who actually won the debate, maybe not actually who you agree with as far as the category, but who actually won the debate between the two. And we're going to start off pretty strong with our first one. So this is the first question, guys. So in college football, there's been a lot of great single season performances by quarterbacks in college football history. But in your opinion, for both of y'all, which college quarterback had the single best single season performance in college football history? Ben, you're on the clock. You have a minute to discuss. So first, we want to find out what your answer is. Who has the greatest single season performance by a quarterback in college football history?
This is my personal opinion, but I'd have to say with Joe Burrow. It goes by what he did for the program. A lot of people might not really recognize it, but you're talking about something where he put a spotlight on a program that will never leave. That's pretty important. And when you start up any football program, and what he did for that program, obviously win a national championship, that's as big as ever with one of the best teams we've ever seen, but also win a Heisman Trophy winner. And becoming a Heisman Trophy winner when there had only been one in prior years, who is an icon with Billy Cannon. In that limelight, I just think what he did for long term with the program at LSU, Joe Burrow will go down to me as the most impacting of all.
So Ben has Joe Burrow, and as an LSU beat writer myself, I mean, I definitely have to agree with that. I mean, winning the national championship, going undefeated, and setting all kinds of NCAA records, you cannot argue against Joe Burrow. But Grant also has a really good quarterback option as well, who's will also stay within the SEC for another Heisman Trophy and national champion. Grant, who is your pick for the greatest single-season quarterback performance ever?
Yeah. Well, I had to pick Cam Newton, and the reason why I picked Cam Newton is because, I mean, you can look at Joe Burrow and look at the stats. I mean, he threw for over 5,000 yards, 60 touchdowns, and had probably one of the, if not the greatest single-season performance by quarterback in terms of the numbers. But if you have to look at the overall, and I think Cam Newton, for what he did to Auburn, was something that no other quarterback has really done in terms of immediate impact. Remember, he was only at Auburn for 1 year. And that 1 year, he went 14-0, led the Auburn to the national championship, their first one since 1957 up to that point. So that was about 53 years because he won in 2010. And then also, if you look at Auburn before he got there and look at Auburn after he got there, it's very clear that he was the biggest reason why they won the national championship that year, especially on a team that really is probably one of the least talented national championship teams of recent memory.
Absolutely. Two really good cases. So, as a recap, of course, Ben has Joe Burrow as his pick, and then Grant has Cam Newton, both national champions, both Heisman Trophy winners, both first overall picks as well in the NFL draft. Now, this is a chance for your counter argument. So you have a minute each to go into the other person's argument and why their pick is not the right answer. So we're going to start off with you, Ben, of course. So, Ben, why isn't it Cam Newton? Why he's not the option?
Well, I mean, I think Cam Newton was a special player, but when you look at where LSU is at with the quarterback position, they've had some success, but you haven't had an impacting player of long term like that, and an offense that has struggled for a long time. We had some offenses in prior years that were good, but LSU was in a bad position, and what Joe Burrow did was something Cam Newton. He did a great job on his impact for that year in 2010, but I don't know if I've ever seen anything, and what he did in the Heisman vote that year beats whatever Cam Newton was in comparison to.
All right, so that is your counter argument. Now time for Grant's counter argument.
Well, the reason why I say Cam Newton over Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, of course, has one of the greatest single-season performances by a quarterback, but you have to look at Cam Newton, who he had to work with. Also what he did. He led the team in rushing 8 times that season. He had almost 15,000 yards of rushing and 20 touchdowns, along with 2,800 yards of passing, 30 touchdowns he had. But he also accounted for 67.5% of his team's touchdowns that year. And then you also have to look at who Joe Burrow worked with and who Cam Newton worked with. Joe Burrow had a first-round running back, 2 of the top 5 receivers in the NFL right now, an offensive line who I think 3 or 4, at least 4 of the 5 offensive linemen there got drafted, and I think 3 of them are starting in the NFL right now. And then also you had a receiver who's drafted in the second round as well, and Terrace Marshall. But then you also look at what Cam Newton had. Only 2 players on his offense got drafted. Both of them were offensive line. One was Brandon Moses in the 4th round, and then Lee Ziemba in the 7th round. No offensive players were drafted in the first 3 rounds. Outside of Cam Newton, they did not have a single skill position drafted. There's only 2 Pro Bowlers. There's 3 Pro Bowlers on the team. Dee Ford, who made it to the Pro Bowl, I think in 2018, but that's on the defense. But on the offense, but you're talking about offense and special teams, there's only 2 others. One was a long snapper, who's currently the only active player from that team on the roster, and then Cody Parkey, who was a kicker, who was a backup kicker. He wasn't even a starting kicker. So you have to look at the body of work that Cam Newton had to work around.
All right, his time's up there as well. And then, guys, y'all get a chance. Pretty good arguments there for the both of y'all. But y'all get 2 more minutes to convince the fans why they should vote for your pick, why they should vote for you. And then the 2 minutes are on the clock. So, Ben, there's Joe Burrow right behind you on the banner. So why should you defend Joe Burrow as the greatest single-season performance of all time?
Well, I mean, it goes back to, when you have a team, because football it's a team game. It's a team, and it's about winning, and that you take a team that had their struggles. Now, LSU had some great success, winning national championships, But it was in a little bit of a pickle when he got there, and with a new coach and all that stuff, and a coach who had been an interim coach, and he got the leadership role he did, and he took that and he got a program in a position where they became not just a good team, but a dynasty team that will go on for years to come as one of the best we've ever seen in college football history. I mean, when you're comparing them with Miami and Nebraska as the best amongst those two, that's not a normal thing in football. And that he had an impact so strongly. And look at the Heisman vote he did. I mean, the guy, and I might be wrong on this, but from what I recall, is he had one of the highest numbers of votes of any Heisman Trophy winner of all time. That's not a normal thing. And what he did for an offense that needed that spotlight player. You know, people had talked about for so many years, LSU was producing some really good receivers in the NFL. Well, they had been a laughingstock in many ways too, because they were known for dropping passes, and it was year in, year out. And that he came in and he took that offense from that to something we have never seen. I mean, we've seen some great offenses, but they were something that year so special, and with a coach in position that, you know, by many limelights was not expected to ever do that with a program or a team, and they did that. And I think when it comes back to the game of football is it's about team, and Joe Burrow was the essence of a true leader that translated to winning.
All right, time's up, so about 15 seconds left to spare. So good points there, Ben, why Joe Burrow has the greatest single-season performance of all time. Now is your final chance, Grant, to convince the fans why it's actually Cam Newton that had the greatest single-season performance ever.
Well, he talked a lot about team, but Joe Burrow also had a lot of teammates that ended up having great success in the NFL. And really, Cam Newton didn't have that. He also had a lame duck head coach in Gene Chizik, who, before he got to Auburn, had went 3-9 and 2-10 at Iowa State, got the job, and then besides Cam Newton, that 1 year with Cam Newton, 8-5, 8-5, 3-9. But more importantly, I think, you know, we have to look, you know. Yeah, we talk about the team. Yes, I know that Joe Burrow was the essence of a leader, but what Cam Newton did to single-handedly lead that Auburn team to a national championship, knowing that really besides Nick Fairley, didn't really have any guys of note on that team. I mean, it takes a whole lot to name one single player from that team. While LSU, you got dudes who are still playing the NFL and having a lot of success in the NFL. And then also, matter of fact, we talk about, you know, his stamp on history of Joe Burrow. Even after Joe Burrow left, they still had success on the offensive side of the ball. They were still one of the better passing teams the following year in 2020, and then also had success with Jane Daniels with all the skill players. Auburn, outside of 2013 when they went on the miracle run to the national championship, they've won 8-9 games most of the time. I mean, they've been in middle of the table as a C team, while LSU still is a dominant program even today and are still in this discussion to make it to the playoff and win it all next year, despite losing Jane Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, who, by the way, are all first-rounders. Auburn hasn't had any of those talented guys outside of Cam Newton since then.
Good points, guys.
All this on the offensive side of the ball.
Right. Really good points, guys. And you can tell, I mean, I do agree that this, by far, are the two best single-season performances by a quarterback in college football history, both in the SEC. But it's your turn to decide. So, Ben's off to a 3-0 start. Will you continue to be perfect right here? Try to go to 4-0? Well, it's your decision to try to see that. If it's Joe Burrow that had the greatest single-season performance by a quarterback ever, or is it Cam Newton from Auburn? Did he have the greatest single season by a quarterback? It's your choice to vote. You can actually vote on the link below in the description in the video, so make sure to vote. And then we have one more thing to wrap it up.
I do have one more thing. Just a reminder, I don't look back at that 2010 LSU game with Cam Newton. Cam Newton also had 260 yards, including 2 rushing touchdowns, one of which he outran Patrick Peterson. So don't be salty about that, boys and girls.
There you go. There you have it. So I appreciate Grant for coming on. We have a couple more, so we'll make sure that we'll promote River Sports Media. But make sure to vote. As a vote here, this is going to be posted on Monday. So voting will end on Tuesday. We'll get y'all updated on who wins the first debate here between Ben versus Grant.